What is going on? Good morning, Don't Unfriend Me Nation. My name is Matthew Spear. I am the host of Don't Unfriend Me. Good to have you here. We are on the morning of debate night in America. The GOP had a chance to, I don't know, get together on a stage and throw a bunch of stuff at us for us to consume. And I know it seems like it's been such a long time since we've sat at the buffet table of American politics. A lot of us still aren't even engaged and won't be for months. But it is a good indicator of what's to come when we see the early field. I want to give you some ratings. I want to make it as simple as possible for you because that's important to me. I'll give you the high level. I'll give you just the introduction to it. Watch this, which will give you just a quick snippet of what happened last night and also what didn't happen, which I'll try to fill in the blanks. Watch this.
I will not let you down. Who the heck is this skinny guy with a funny last name, and what the heck is he doing in the middle of this debate stage?
I think it's time for an accountant in the White House.
I was a House conservative leader before it was cool. America can do for anyone what she's done for me.
I'm from a town of 300 people. It's a big deal to make it on this stage.
The job of the President of the United States is to stand for truth.
I'll bring out the best of America.
It is time for a new generational conservative leader.
The American people will have a champion for life in the Oval Office.
We're in the middle of a national identity crisis.
This country could use somebody in the White House that understands small town values.
I will never let the deep state bureaucrats lock you down.
Margaret Thatcher said, if you want something said, ask a man. If you want something done, ask a woman.
The only war that I will declare will be the war on the federal administrative state. We will reverse the decline of this country.
Stop the spending, stop the borrowing.
The American people have had enough, but I know we can bring it back.
The U.S. Constitution, it is the strongest guarantor of freedom. That is what will win us the revolution of 2024. I will get the job done. 2024 is make or break.
Wow, sounds like a bunch of words, a whole bunch of stuff. What does it mean? I'm going to give you your rating system. Republicans who qualified for the debate, just to let you know who's there. Who is there? Who's important? Who's not? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. Asa Hutchinson first was on the stage. He's Old Man River, Ron DeSantis, Chris Christie, Vivek Ramaswamy, and also Mike Pence, Doug Burgum, Tim Scott, and Nikki Haley. Some of these names may seem familiar to you. Some may be missing. Some may not. As far as the grades and the overall performance, Larry Elder did not qualify. He got a grade of DNQ and went back to the admissions department. He actually filed an injunction to have the debates moved to a different time and stopped. Unfortunately, he did not get that. I know Larry Elder is a very smart man, someone who I like a lot. I would have loved to have seen him on that stage, but alas, he wasn't there and did not qualify. He'll have to take the class again next semester.
We have a crisis of achievement. Let's shut down the head of the snake, the Department of Education. Take that $80 billion, put it in the hands of parents across this country. This is the civil rights issue of our time. I did have the ultimate privilege of two parents in the House with a focus on educational achievement. And I want every kid to enjoy that. So part of the problem is we also have a federal government that pays single women more not to have a man in the house than to have a man in the house, contributing to an epidemic of fatherlessness. And I think that goes hand in glove with the education crisis as well, because we have to remember education starts with the family, and the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to mankind.
Vivek Ramaswamy, this one's interesting. I guess if I'm going to give him a name, it's going to be the disruptor. This guy is very Trumpian. He likes to try to talk over people. He got smacked around by Nikki Haley. I'll show you that video when we get to her segment. Overall, Vivek says the right things, comes from the pharmaceutical industry. He has a lot of money. He's done a lot of things. He says those right things. But the question is, when pushed on it, he tends to lie. He tends to flip-flop like a pancake, International House of Pancakes. I overall appreciate his energy and drive. He's playing for second place. He's playing for vice president. I give him an overall grade of a C because I liked his energy. But overall, like I said, when it came to anything of merit and substance, Nikki Haley punted him all over the stage. I will show you that once again in a second.
Now is not the time for on-the-job training. We don't need to bring in a rookie. We don't need to bring in people without experience. We need to bring
It's 30 seconds when you have a rebuttal, okay? And you are up, Governor DeSantis.
Mike Pence. Well, what does Mike Pence bring besides gorgeous peppermint-crusted hair that flies love to eat? He brings the religious element to the argument and kind of the grumpy old man. He had the polish. He was that person who was obviously has been there before, has done this before. He got a little bit frazzled. He got a little bit frustrated at times. But overall, it seemed to be an ode to Mike Pence, to the constitutionality of his actions. And they asked him that specifically. Did you support what Mike Pence did by confirming the election and actually not sending it back to the states? And of course, to a person, everyone spoke in the affirmative. The one thing is, as far as his grade, I'm going to have to give him an eye exam needs to happen in order to retake the test.
Got it.
He just showed up. It's Mike Pence. He doesn't necessarily wow anybody. He's just consistent. But the old-time Republican voice of religious values when it comes to pro-life, when it comes to most conservative values, from shrinking the government, all the things we love to hear. But in the end, it's Mike Pence saying it, so it doesn't necessarily blow your skirt up.
A win for Russia is a win for China. We have to know that. Ukraine is the first line of defense for us. And the problem that Vivek doesn't understand is he wants to hand Ukraine to Russia. He wants to let China eat Taiwan. He wants to go and stop funding Israel. You don't do that to friends. What you do instead is you have the backs of your friends. Ukraine is the front line of defense. Putin has said once Russia takes Ukraine, Poland and the Baltics are next. That's a world war. We're trying to prevent war. Look at what Putin did today. He killed Prigozhin. When I was at the UN, the Russian ambassador suddenly died. This guy is a murderer, and you are choosing a murderer over a pro-American country.
I wish you well in your future career on the boards of Lockheed and Raytheon.
You know, I'm not on
but
the
fact
boards
of the matter,
and Raytheon. And you know,
Boeing came off of it, but you've been pushing this lie. You've been pushing this lie all week, Nikki.
You want to go and defund Israel? You want to
okay, let me address that. I'm glad you brought that up.
You want to go and give Ukraine
I'm going to address. So the reality
is, America less safe. You have no foreign policy experience, and it shows.
And you know what? The foreign policy.
Nikki Haley, I would put her, obviously, if we were to talk about a front runner, as a front runner. I think she brought the parents element, the woman element, and shows that equity isn't important, but sassy intellectualism wins out. She embarrassed the men. She had a softer approach, the way she dressed. They were all in black suits, and she's wearing something that's a soft Arctic blue. She's easy on the eyes, but man, she's got a bite. She's got some venom in those words, and she could say it without losing control. She had the best one-liner of the night, which usually gets the sound bites, as far as Margaret Thatcher saying that the difference in the dichotomy between men and women and how women solve problems and men really just continue to argue the problem. It was very well struck. It was very Reagan-esque. And yes, I'm a Nikki Haley fan already. I've been saying it for 2.5 years, and she didn't hurt herself last night. She overachieved. I'm going to give her an A. I know. Hold on.
The most pressing need of the American people from a national security standpoint is our southern border. As the next president of the United States, I will make that border wall complete.
Tim Scott, great guy, but too much on truth and not enough on the flash. He's got all the salad, but he doesn't talk about anything about the steak. And it's sad to say I give him a B. The fact that truth ultimately is boring is sad. It gets lost on the stage. He didn't find enough minutes. Mike Pence and Ramaswamy ate up the time. A lot of that had to do with some of the questions about Trump, but unfortunately, Tim Scott did not stand out.
What a President Christie would do is appoint an attorney general who would instruct each of the 93 U.S. attorneys that they are to take over the prosecution of violent crime in every one of those cities that are failing to do so. We need to make sure that each and every one of these criminals understand is that the laws apply to everybody. And when Hunter Biden fills out a fake application, a false application for a gun permit, and then you have a Justice Department that walks away from those charges, we're telling people that the law doesn't apply to everybody. In a Christie administration, he would go to jail for 10 years.
Chris Christie, now this one's funny. He does what he always does. He crushes the competition. He does nothing to benefit himself, however. He's a mouthpiece. But man, can he get his jabs in? His grade is overall type 2 diabetes. I'm not going to give him a grade. Chris Christie's a joke. He's never going to be the president of the United States. But man, the guy certainly plays disruptor very well. He got the blood up on Ramaswamy several times. He's not afraid to go after people he doesn't like. He took the room to a kind of a different level and really kind of struck first blood right after Haley did. I'm not a big fan of Chris Christie, but I do appreciate the debate style that he has.
We must reverse Bidenomics so that middle-class families have a chance to succeed again. We cannot succeed as a country if you are working hard and you can't afford groceries, a car, or a new home. We also cannot succeed when the Congress spends trillions and trillions of dollars. Those rich men north of Richmond have put us in this situation.
Ron DeSantis, the elephant in the room, so to speak. Well, the elephant in the room was Trump, and he wasn't there. But the smaller elephant on the tail of the mama elephant seemed like a Voltaire machine from the movie Big. He spit out the answers, but you weren't sure if you were going to get your wish if you vote for him. He's the prom king. That's his grade. And really an overall incomplete. He got an I for the semester because he didn't stand out. He does what he always does. He says a lot of passionate things, but there's no substance behind it. It's rhetoric. He doesn't point out other people's flaws. He just deflects and goes to, this is what I did in Florida. And although relevant and may be applicable, it doesn't necessarily get the juices flowing, so to speak. How about Asa Hutchinson? Who? He's the kid that nobody knows was in class, and you see him in the yearbook and wonder, who the hell is this guy?
I never asked the question of what about the crime wave in small towns? Because in a small town, neighbors help neighbors. People understand each other. If a farmer gets sick, everybody comes together and helps them get the crop off. There's accountability. There's transparency. One thing that I think this country could use is somebody in the White House that understands small town values, because that's our road back to get this country on track again.
Doug Burgum, he's very strong. He has a great smile, presentation, strong answers, was good on foreign policy. I give him a B, and most likely he'll be a dentist is my grade. I don't see him doing much else. Overall, though, I do like his answers, and I like that he hurt his ankle, was barely able to walk, and stood there and grinned through the pain and still did a fairly decent job. The winners, the clear winners, obviously, Nikki Haley, I felt won. I think Vivek Ramaswamy inspired the Trump people who want to see bloodletting. He filled that, but that's really it. Mike Pence did what he always did and does what he always does. He just showed up. But the winners, there were two winners that weren't even on stage last night, and they are the A-plus winners. The first one is Glenn Youngkin from Virginia, my governor. It is about almost guaranteed in my mind that Glenn Youngkin will enter this race. I believe they will dwindle down to 3 or 4 clear candidates, and Glenn Youngkin will get tapped by the RNC because he's what Ron DeSantis isn't. He has the polish. He has the command. He has the favorability. He has the skill set, but he knows how to relate to a very broad demographic. He brought Virginia together. He turned it from purple into red and bringing blue districts into the fold. He's very strong with parents. He's extremely strong with the military. And overall, blue-collar workers and educators, although don't agree with everything he says, has seen the fruits of his labor over the last 2 years and what he's achieved. I imagine Glenn Youngkin, by not being there, allowed himself to set himself apart, even by not showing up. Speaking of that, so did Donald Trump. The clear winner, the valedictorian, cum laude, is Donald Trump with an astounding A+++ of epic style, like a Christmas story when Ralphie wrote his imaginary tale about the Red Ryder BB gun. The reason why is because Donald Trump right now has 198 million views of his interview with Tucker Carlson on Twitter. That is an incredible number. Not only is it from the United States, but a worldwide phenomenon, as people want to hear from Donald Trump. The interview had very little to do with politics or his platform, but had to do with an intimate conversation. I suggest you watch it. I won't be showing any clips for that because I want to break it down later on Friday on my show and show the whole thing to you. But Donald Trump didn't even show up and was the clear winner. I think that says something about where he's at. He's going to be indicted today. We're going to hear that information. We're probably going to see a mugshot. And honestly, I don't think it's going to do any damage. I think it helps his ratings. I think it helps his overall platform. The question is, who is a clear possible vice president or a contender? I don't think a contender was on the stage last night. I think Nikki Haley would make a wonderful vice president for someone like Glenn Youngkin or possibly Donald Trump. We'll see what happens, folks. Tell me what you think below. You might think I'm crazy. but maybe you agree with me. Doesn't really matter. Just go ahead and tell me below. Don't unfriend me. Thanks for watching the show tonight. Do me a favor. Stop by Friday night and see us live. I'll also have another recorded show on Friday, and you can stop by the DUM Show and get some cool merchandise. We've got shirts, we've got hats, coffee mugs, coffee, all that type of stuff. Stop on by. We give 10% back to veterans in the Travis Manion Foundation. Thanks for watching, and we will see you tomorrow. God bless.
I'm David Boreanaz with the Cast of SEAL team, and we have an important message for returning vets.
We want you to know if you're struggling to cope, there's help and it's just a phone call away.
The Veterans Crisis Line is staffed with experienced professionals who know your struggles.
There's no greater sacrifice in service to our country. We're able to enjoy our freedoms because of it.
Your service is important, you are important.
For vets and their families, the Veterans Crisis Line is here to help 24 hours a day. Please call